Let's be real for a second. The rulebook that has pretty much governed our world for decades, it's being torn up right before our eyes. And in all that chaos, a new global order is taking shape. And India, well, India is drafting a completely new playbook to win. And this quote, man, it just nails it. It perfectly captures the massive shift we're all seeing. The old world, the one built on international cooperation, it's fading. And what's replacing it is a much tougher, much more cutthroat reality, where national self-interest and raw power are pretty much the only rules that matter anymore. So to really get what India's new strategy is all about, we first have to walk through the ruins of the old one. Let's take a look at the collapse of that international system that shaped the last, 50 plus years? This timeline tells a really interesting story of decline. Back in the 90s, things felt optimistic. You had institutions like the WTO being created to enforce fair trade rules, and India was a key leader for developing nations. But then, China's rise started creating this whole new center of gravity. And fast forward to 2019, and you have the US, the United States, actively weakening the very system it once built. I mean, this visual says it all, doesn't it? The UN used to be this big US-led stage for diplomacy. But today, China is stepping in to head up key agencies while the US is stepping out, pulling out of dozens of institutions. The message couldn't be clearer. The old way of doing things is officially over. And this shift isn't just political. You have to follow the money. Look at this number, 120. What is that? Well, that's how many countries now count China as their #1 largest trading partner. This isn't just a little adjustment, folks. This is a complete and total rewiring of the global economy. So, in this brand new, dramatically different world, a really tough question started to surface for India. Was its old, long-standing foreign policy still right for the times? And the answer, it turns out, was a pretty clear no. So for decades, India's whole approach was this idea of strategic autonomy. Now, during the Cold War, this made perfect sense. The idea was simple: stay independent. Don't be a pawn for the US or the Soviet Union. Instead, you build your own influence by leading other non-aligned nations. It was a smart play for the time. But here's the crucial question that this new reality is forcing on everyone. When the world is dominated by just a few massive technological and economic giants, can you really afford to stand alone? Is just being autonomous a real strategy anymore? And yeah, the cracks in that old policy were becoming impossible to ignore. It was a strategy designed for the Cold War. In today's world, real power isn't about how many votes you can get in a weakened UN. It's about your tech, your economy, your might. And here's the most telling sign of all. US strategists stopped seeing India as this independent leader and started calling it a swing state, basically a prize to be won in the great power competition with China. And all of this leads us to the harsh reality of the New World Order. The old, polite rules of cooperation are gone, and they've been replaced by something much simpler and, frankly, much more brutal: raw power politics. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, that old idea of reciprocity, of mutual, fair agreements, it's pretty much dead. In this new era, relationships are transactional, and often they're completely one-sided. The stronger country just dictates the terms. This table is a perfect example. Check this out. India agrees to double its imports from the US, hoping to get a fair deal. And what does it get in return? The US keeps its high tariffs in place, basically saying, you give us more, and maybe then we'll talk. This is what asymmetric power looks like in the real world. So you have to wonder, why all this intense pressure on India? Well, the logic is actually pretty simple. The US watched as China used the old open system to become a manufacturing behemoth. Now it looks over at India, really the only other country with that kind of potential, and the goal is simple: do not let history repeat itself. Okay, so in this new age of straight-up power politics, how does India respond? It responds with a brand new, incredibly detailed strategic vision, a roadmap to become a fully developed nation by the year 2047. This new game plan is built on 5 core pillars. First up, bide your time and build your strength. Keep a low profile on the world stage and just focus on developing your own capabilities at home. Sound familiar? It's what China and the US did. Second, diversify trade. That means actively moving away from being too reliant on the West and signing new deals with the booming economies in Asia and Africa. Third, and this is key, forge pragmatic tech alliances with everyone, even your rivals, to get an edge. Fourth, completely rethink regional relationships. Start treating neighbors like Pakistan not just as a security problem, but as a potential economic partner. And finally, number 5, reposition groups like BRICS to be about money and economic cooperation, not political grandstanding. So, what does this all add up to? When you put all the pieces together, you see this isn't just some minor tweak to foreign policy. No, this is a fundamental reimagining of India's entire place in the world and its path to becoming a true superpower. If you take away just one thing today, let it be this. India is making a massive shift. It's moving away from a foreign policy based on ideals and influencing global forums and moving towards one focused on pragmatic, power-based, one-on-one deals. The end goal is no longer just to lead a movement of nations. The goal is to build overwhelming internal strength and become a genuine cyber superpower. And this chart right here, this shows you exactly why that pillar of trade diversification is so absolutely critical. The world's economic center of gravity, it's shifting. It's shifting hard to the east and to the south. With Asia projected to hold 2/3 of all global wealth and Africa growing faster than any other continent, India knows that the future of growth, it's not where it used to be. Which leaves us with one final massive question. The old game of international relations is done. It's over. The rules have been completely rewritten. Is this new, pragmatic, and power-focused playbook the key that will finally unlock India's potential to become a true 21st century superpower?